Straight Line is brought to you in part by the Toledo Clinic ENT, specializing in allergy, nasal, and sinus care.
You're watching Straight Line with Dan Rogers, President and CEO of Cherry Street Mission Ministries.
Welcome to Straight Line, and my name's Delray Bush. Dan, today we're discussing life. Why is this issue so important for you?
Well, you know, we could be discussing abortion, and that's a fun topic. And, you know, for all of our serious viewers out there, of course, abortion's not a fun topic at all. I mean, I have long history, like most people in our community, of the faith community, have a long history in combating the idea that it's okay to kill kids within our community. But really, our guest today is going to help us really focus on life. Because when we say as a community we're pro-life, we're not really necessarily saying we're anti-abortion, though, of course, we're really not anti-abortion as much as we're not trying to get something to stop happening. We're trying to get something to happen. And in this case, it's life. And we'll talk a lot about that today with our guest.
And Dan, I know that you've had a long history of that, like you said. Can you give me a little bit of background into your history there?
You know, I'm like a lot of folks, you know, back in the 80s, you know, that were protesting, chaining ourselves to abortion clinics, you know, the normal stuff, you know, who hasn't been chained to abortion clinic? But, you know, just really protesting this idea that within our community, and certainly within arm's reach, that it was conscionable that we could kill children. And certainly believing that life starts at conception and that the Bible is accurate when it says that he knows us before and he knows us long after. He's always known us. And so that we would end that life while on earth was not something that I could live with.
And as a new mom myself, I have a almost 4-month-old daughter now, Corrigan, and I know that, you know, when I look at her, she was perfectly made. I mean, that hands of God were on that child, you know, way before she came onto this earth. So it's a great feeling.
Yeah, well, imagine trying to talk you into not having your daughter.
Yeah.
You know, or even imagining that your daughter could have been lost, or any one of our children could have been lost early in life and were shed while in the safety of womb. So yes, let's spend the day talking about life and the importance of it, because really the church, the biblically framed, God-following, Christ-centered church, is really all about life, because that's what he came to give us, life.
And I think even, you know, just as important is the mother's life, the mother and the child. They're just both so important as a whole, right?
Well, Amanda Galetke, she's our guest today. I'm going to get her talking about that too. She's on the board of Heartbeat of Toledo, and they're doing some wonderful things within our community. And Amanda and I go back a little bit. We've served on boards before within our community, and I just really appreciate the way that her and her husband come at life and why this is an important topic to her. So yes, absolutely, we are going to get Amanda talking about how important mom and dad are in this conversation. When we say we're pro-life, we must say more than we're pro-birth. We really have to think about how we remain pro-life throughout the life of the family and throughout the life of everyone concerned. So when you support Cherry Street Mission Ministries, this is what you do, because this is our topic today. We're talking about life. And in order to do that, you're going to have to stand in places that's going to make you really uncomfortable. Take a look.
Imagine being tossed into hell. Imagine standing there. Imagine the heat of it, the flame of it, the worry of it. Now imagine someone is standing right beside you, because they are. And you know they're not there for any other reason than you. That is Cherry Street Mission Ministries. We stand in the hell of other people's choosing on purpose.
Isn't that true? And can I just ask you this question? Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool to know that you are called by God to stand in the very fire and hell of another person's life? And it would be okay if we would be called to stand in the person's lives who didn't deserve it, right? Isn't that the easy one? You know, they didn't deserve to be in hell, didn't deserve to be going through this hellish time in their life, and those are good. But you know, in most cases, we're actually called by God to go stand in the hell of people's lives that they chose. And this is really the value and the true nature of God, isn't it? Because David said in Psalm 139, he goes, "If I make my bed in hell, I will find you there." Isn't that an amazing thing? I know all of us have found ourselves in those deep, dark places where, man, we were being eaten alive, and yet how did we make it through? Well, we made it through mostly because other people stood in our hell, stood in proximity to us, became friend to us, not foe to us, became people of proximity to us. And that's the very nature of God. That's what happens at Cherry Street Mission Ministries every day. You see it every day because you pray, you volunteer, and you support. So when we talk about life, like our topic today, it's an easy one for me to invite my good friend, Amanda Galetka. Thank you so much for coming in and being a part of our program today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, Amanda, you and I go back a little bit, but let's get you talking about your family.
Yes.
Married, kids.
Yep.
What's going on? Where do you work? What's going on? Help us understand you.
Okay, well, I'm not originally from the Toledo area, so.
Oh, where are you from?
Northwest Ohio, technically. Attica, very small town, close to Tiffin. 45 minutes south of Sandusky.
Okay.
Grew up in a very small farm community. Came here for school, met my husband. We decided to, establish ourselves here. We found jobs and started our family.
Did you come up to the University of Toledo?
University of Toledo graduate. Yes.
All right, good.
So I work for Brooks Insurance. I've been there about 10 years. My husband and I will be married 10 years this June. We have three.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We have 3 beautiful children. Audrey, who will be 6 years old next month. Anderson is our 3-year-old son, and then Eleanor is our 7-month-old daughter.
And this is them here.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great picture.
That is one of our favorite family hobbies right there. Best investment ever. I don't care what anybody says about boats.
Some kind of flotation device.
That's right. And I mean, the river, phenomenal. What a great way to spend some family time.
Okay, great. Can I just tell you, this is why you should live in Toledo.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we're right on the water.
Beautiful.
Get a watercraft and enjoy the river like you guys do. So you're teaching your kids early and often the value of family.
Yes.
Amanda,
absolutely.
can I ask you, why is this so personal to you? I mean, you're on the board of Heartbeat,
right?
You are a very busy professional, right? You've got a great business going on. It's not like you're a marathoner. You run.
Yep.
You got 3 kids. That means you run a lot. You're in a great marriage. You hardly are sitting around going, gee, I have so much free time.
Yeah.
And yet you are dedicated to public service, because I met you in public service as a fellow member of a local board.
Right.
And here you are. So there's got to be a personal reason. Help us understand why.
I don't know. The reasons run all over the place, but I will just have to admit, this is how I just feel like I'm wired. I cannot sit still. If I am sitting still, I'm looking for something else to do.
Okay.
But, there's...
So you're just a big, happy bundle of joy in your home.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rewarding. I mean, to be involved in the community and be doing the work that I'm doing, there is nothing in it for me aside from just personal gratification. I mean, now that I have children and I'm trying to incorporate them into the community and show them really what our community has to offer and where they can make an impact, that is something that most kids don't get to experience. And so I feel like that's our duty as parents, is to, be a good mentor to these kids and expose them to different things. And that includes, community service and doing good things and experiencing what that gratification feels like.
Then why life? Why work with Heartbeat of Toledo? Because if I remember right, you're a member of their board, and I believe you're getting ready to be the chairman of the board.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I will transition into that position this summer.
Okay.
Heartbeat is one of those organizations I feel that flies under the radar in this community. From a budget standpoint, we are incredibly small.
Okay.
But we have been in existence for quite some time. Heartbeat.
How long?
Oh gosh, probably since I don't have the exact years, but I'm going to say the 70s.
Okay.
But the Heartbeat International, it's an international organization. And so we have our own organization here in Toledo, and we're doing some great things. I first became exposed to Heartbeat from a gentleman that I worked with and was coincidentally goes to our church. It was during one of their fundraising breakfasts, and really there was no breakfast. I mean, there was, but that's not why you went. You went there to hear about the organization and the work that they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish. And I believe I went to this breakfast maybe 6 months after I had my first child. And I'm sitting there in tears by the end of this breakfast. And of course it worked. I'm getting out the checkbook and writing a check.
But why? Why were you crying?
You know, it wasn't because they had brought in this, you know, expensive speaker from out of town to speak about pro-life. No, this was, these were clients that are up there in front of this large audience talking about how Heartbeat saved them and saved their child's life, and really gave them the power and the encouragement and the support that they needed to choose life versus the alternative.
Because I would imagine, like most clinics where your guests or your clients are coming to you in a crisis pregnancy center, abortion or end of life is on their mind.
Yes, most oftentimes. And we have a very defined process that we take clients through, and we can identify whether they're abortion minded or abortion vulnerable through a series of questions. And I don't want to call it an interview process, but it kind of is. You know, it's open dialogue with the client and trying to get a feel for where their head's at. And you know, I've never been, with any of my pregnancies, I was never in crisis like these women are. But I will tell you that in every single pregnancy, when you see that confirmation that there is human life inside of you,
what happens?
There is all kinds of mixed emotions that are going on. I mean, there's the emotion of joy, but there's panic. There's, you know, quite honestly, you're just scared sometimes because it's very overwhelming. And you always start to second guess, am I ready for this? You know, and then you put things into perspective and you look at the people around you. And so I really have to feel for these women who come to see us because most oftentimes they just do not have that support. And that's what Heartbeat is all about, is empowering these women to let them know that they can do it. And if they choose life, we're going to be there to help them. Not just during the pregnancy, but post-pregnancy.
Well, this is very, very important, right? You've got to care for the individual that's actually carrying the individual you're trying to save, right?
Absolutely.
We'll get to that in a quick minute. But Amanda, help our viewers understand, you see this up close and personal. You also see it from the position of health because you're a healthy mom and you have a healthy perspective on life. But why? What puts a young woman or any woman of any age at a crisis point to the point where ending a life is their solution? What's going on? What are some of the top-ranked factors that you're running into every day at Heartbeat?
The number one factor, I would say, lack of support. Or fear that they're not going to have any support.
Meaning what? That they have support, but perhaps the support will turn away from them?
Well, there are women who come to us in crisis, and they may want to keep the baby. But maybe boyfriend or fiance or whoever the gentleman is doesn't want that. So, you know, there enters peer pressure, so to speak, to terminate, you know, the pregnancy. And, you know, when your partner is encouraging that and it's not what you want, you know, you have to sympathize with their situation.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, these are the situations and the real life women that are coming into our center for help. Sometimes some of the women coming in, you know, maybe it was a one-night occurrence and there is nobody of significance in their life to play the role of dad or to help them through this pregnancy. Maybe she doesn't even know who the father is. Those are tough, tough situations. And again, I can't say that I can personally relate, but talk about being overwhelmed. And you know, the pregnancy part, in the grand scheme of things, once that baby is here, the pregnancy part, that's a piece of cake. You know, parenting is really where the work starts.
So true. I mean, you know this well. Your oldest child is 7?
6.
6 years old.
Almost 6 years old.
You're almost done.
Yeah, right.
Not even close, right?
Right, no,
I mean,
it's just beginning.
Our youngest left the house just about 2 years ago. when you calculate, my wife and I sat and we calculated 33 years of parenting, right?
Yes, it is a commitment.
I am so glad I didn't think about that at day one. I mean, I'm really not. I'm just like, I wasn't thinking, oh, we have 33 more years of this, because you have to keep adding years every time you have a child, right?
Yep.
It's not just one, or else it's very,
that's right,
very simple and very uncomplicated.
That's right.
So it is a huge commitment. You know, Amanda, one of the things I liked and have liked about our conversation, and I really want to jump into it now, is part of my anxiety about some pregnancy centers, and thankfully I don't think here locally, but just nationally, there seems to be such a bend on the child. So, you know, we want to save the child, but the mother seems to be an add-on into the discussion. So we're trying to reach the child by reaching through the mother, but not really reaching the mom. And yet, such a missed opportunity, because that mom matters, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And her health matter.
Absolutely.
And if we lose her and get the kid, what have we really gained?
Right.
But you don't see it that way.
No.
Nor does Heartbeat see it that way.
No, I think that approach is very, in my mind, I think it's very ineffective. A lot of the women
It would be.
Yeah, a lot of women we see maybe already have children at home.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not like it's a once and done type of deal. Most of these women probably will conceive again.
Okay.
So a lot of times some women come to us and they've already had an abortion. The mom, you just have to show that you really are genuinely concerned about her well-being.
Okay.
I mean, the mom is the one that needs to take care of herself, you know, in order for the pregnancy to be viable and to have this healthy baby. But then there's a lot of work that they can be doing in those 9 months to prepare for this child. And really, at Heartbeat, we're working with these women through education, parenting classes while they're pregnant, but then even after the pregnancy. We have what we call a baby boutique, where as they come to classes and participate in these parenting classes, you know, they earn points, and it's basically a reward system. They then can get access to clothing and equipment for their children, versus us just giving it away. But quite honestly, you know, we probably would do that. But we want them to be able to understand, you know, what it means to be a parent, and give them the proper tools to be a great parent.
It's so important. I don't know how we could be successful otherwise if we're really not caring deeply for mom, and if dad's available, caring deeply for him. And then as a result of them, that healthy mom, just as yours and your husband's perspective in life, you get to raise healthy kids.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're healthy.
Right.
Right? And so often in our society, Amanda, I see us almost turning a blind eye to mom and dad, and caring more for the kid than we really care for the health of mom and dad, somehow thinking that we've got to reach this generation without thinking about the generation we already have.
Right.
What's the negative side of that in your mind?
Oh, geez. You know, the negative side to that, I feel, is that I don't know that all children, well, I know not all children get to be exposed to a healthy environment.
No, they don't.
And you talk about, you know, making healthy choices for the mom and for the dad, but healthy relationships. I mean, most children, you know, you would like to see them being raised in a very loving and compassionate home where everything is being done right, and that just unfortunately does not happen.
No.
So, you know, creating a healthy environment, healthy relationships, surrounding them with all things healthy, you know, nothing but good can come from that.
Right, right. Well, I love what you're doing at Heartbeat. What's the future? I mean, you just opened up a new site in East Toledo. Tell us about that.
So we identified East Toledo as an area that really we want to reach out to for a couple different reasons.
Okay.
East Toledo has the most single mothers in our community. In addition to that, they also have a higher abortion rate than the rest of Lucas County. So,
what? Really?
Yes.
So more single moms in East Toledo and the highest abortion rate. Are we talking the county, Lucas County?
In Lucas County.
No kidding.
That's correct.
Why?
So
Oh, we don't know why.
Yeah,
Is that
don't
too
know why. I mean,
complicated?
there's too many factors to even
Okay.
get into all of that. But I do think that our office formerly was located in downtown Toledo.
Right.
We have since moved our office over by Franklin Park Mall. And there is, I don't want to call it a stigma, but it kind of is, something about crossing the river and coming to this side of town for
No
services.
question. Oh, there's no question.
So we established, well, if they're not going to come to us, we're going to go to them. And we're going to have a presence in East Toledo. So in January of last year, again, we have a very small budget, but we were so fortunate to have a donor underwrite this for the first 3 years, which is
wow.
the length of our lease over there.
That is fantastic.
We are located at the corner of Main and Front, and if you ever drive by that location, you're going to see our sign, and it won't say Heartbeat of Toledo, but it will say Your First Look Women's Pregnancy Center.
Why did you guys do that? You actually, you did something very unusual. Most organizations have developed a brand. They've spent a lot of time developing their brand, but you did not carry that brand to this location. How come?
Well, so Heartbeat, I talked a lot about supporting mothers, you know, during the pregnancy and post-pregnancy. What I have not yet mentioned is that we offer ultrasounds and pregnancy tests.
Oh,
So Your First Look
yeah.
was created because of the whole ultrasound service.
Okay.
And we didn't want to discourage women to coming to us because we were a pro-life organization. So if they were looking, if you were to Google Abortion Toledo, our hope is that Your First Look would populate and you would see it's a pregnant, you know, a women's center, a pregnancy center. The goal is to attract those women so that they at least call us.
Okay.
From that point, we kind of get a feel for what the situation is. The goal is to make an appointment and to get them in the door.
And so it's a first look. There's an ultrasound there. Is it walk-in?
We do accept walk-ins.
Okay.
We encourage appointments because, like I mentioned, we do have a process. And we are trying to identify where these women's heads are at. That way, we kind of can get a feel for where the discussion's going to go.
Okay.
And one thing I will point out is that our approach is very different than most pregnancy centers. We perform or have instituted what we refer to as options counseling.
Okay.
So we are not just talking about carrying baby to term. We're talking about abortion and the risks that come with that.
Okay.
We're talking about adoption. We're also talking about what it means to carry baby to term.
Okay. That's an amazing thing that you guys are doing, Amanda. Any expansion plans beyond East Toledo?
At this stage, eventually, yes. I think it would be awesome if we could, you know, continue to pop up all over the city, you know, wherever we establish there's a need. Right now, we're not quite at East Toledo 5 days a week due to staffing and funding. But the goal is to eventually have a full-time staff over there. We're kind of scrunched in there. So we have parenting classes taking place on days where we're not conducting appointments for ultrasounds or intakes for clients. So, I mean, I think that the response over there has been tremendous. And now it's just a matter of continuing to do community outreach and creating awareness on, you know, our services and really, you know, how really we should be the first stop for women in crisis.
You know, we've only got a few minutes left, but you know what's important in just these last few seconds that we have, Amanda, how can the church, I'm going to say this as carefully as I can, how can we love better? How can we love better?
How can we love better? You know, I think you love through personal touches and through the sense of community.
Okay. Do we need to just get up close and more personal on this topic and really encourage life at a deeper level then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Amanda, you are a great friend, and I just have loved having you here today. Let's stay in touch because if you're okay with it, let's bring you and the executive director of Heartbeat back sometime soon.
Absolutely.
And let's have a more expanded conversation about life within our city.
It's great.
Thanks so much for being here. You know, so what happens when you support Cherry Street Mission Ministries is you support conversations like this, frankly. And why is this an important conversation through Cherry Street? Well, I will tell you because there are a lot of men and women that come through Cherry Street annually, nearly 2,000. And among them are men and women that have been subjected to or around abortions. So we have men that have forced former girlfriends to have abortions, and can you imagine the hard life they're now trying to recover from once they begin to come to Christ and realize what they've done. And of course, we've had women that have had abortions, as Amanda spoke about earlier, that really are under the rock. They don't believe that God loves them anymore. They've slipped into anonymity and now living a life of hopelessness because they now realize they killed a kid, their kid, that they don't think God would ever love them. When you support Cherry Street, that's exactly what you do. And you know it's so easy? $104 will buy absolutely 2 full days of service at Cherry Street. That's basic services, that's everything. Love, clinical care, connectivity to education, advocacy, and everything along the way. And you do that every single time that you support Cherry Street. So can I just encourage you? Pray for us, serve with us, certainly financial support us. And as you do that, you and I are enjoying the greatest local mission field you'll ever find.
You know, Cherry Street Mission Ministries from 1947 until this very day has always been about people. People like you, people that come through our doors for a wide range of reasons. So when you financially and prayerfully support Cherry Street, you are actually making an investment in life revitalization. And I think one of the cool things about that is we're all about revitalizing and transforming every life that comes through one of our doors, no matter what the reason. That's the great thing about your support and your investment of Cherry Street, is the way that lives are transformed and changed.
And isn't that true about Cherry Street? This is what our donors, our prayer supporters, and our volunteers do every single day, is they help us reach people. In most cases, they're helping them reach each other. Del Rey, as you were listening to Amanda and I today, what did you learn? What did you pick up from today's show?
I think the most important thing is how people can love other people in the best way. So mom, dad, and child, as a family unit, you know, whether they're not together or together, there's a lot of trauma with, you know, abortion and things like that.
Always.
Especially, like you said, when an individual comes to Christ and you know, thinks about how God could love them for what they've done in the past. I think, you know, even if you haven't been in that exact situation, that's true for a lot of situations, you know, probably in your life and my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
And, you know, you and I are the same. We've known a lot of people that have survived. And God has moved them from survivor to conqueror, and now they're living great, healthy lives as God continues to give them life. And so Del Rey, thank you so much for being a part of today's show.
Thank you, Dan. We'll see you next time.